Well, it is the Friday edition of Sports Highlight on the Breakfast Show on Rapid TV. Well, a beehive of activities will be going down this weekend. But let's head straight to the camp of the Super Eagles. I am Ijoma Victor. Now, the Super Eagles yesterday, Thursday afternoon, departed Rabat for Casablanca ahead of their third-place match with the Pharaohs of Egypt on Saturday. Now, this was revealed by the team's media officer, Promise Foge. The Super Eagles trained later on Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m., which was open to the media. The Super Eagles' quest for a fourth AFCON title was dashed following a penalty shootout defeat to Morocco in Rabat on Thursday. After a goalless draw in 90 minutes and extra time, Morocco triumphed 4-2 with Yassine Bounou making 2 saves and winning the Man of the Match award. Meanwhile, talisman Victor Osimhen is a doubt for Saturday's 2025 African Cup of Nations third-place playoff against the Pharaohs of Egypt. Now, in the absence of a suspended Wilfred Ndidi, Osimhen won the captain armband against Morocco on Wednesday night. However, the Galatasaray star was substituted shortly before the penalty shootout, with Super Eagles head coach Eric Chelle revealing Osimhen had a small injury. Commenting on the late change in extra time, Chelle told journalists in his post-match press conference, since the beginning of this AFCON, every day at every training session, we do penalty session, and statistically, the players who took the penalties were the best. And that's why we made changes to bring in the players who were going to shoot. Meanwhile, still talking about the Super Eagles, ex-media officer of the Super Eagles, Peter Ida, has claimed Eric Chelle is ready to quit as head coach after the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Now, according to Ida, Tunisia have offered Chelle $100,000 monthly salary. The Super Eagles' last game at the AFCON is a third-place playoff against Egypt on Saturday. Peter Ida believes that apart from financial package, Tunisia's qualification for the 2026 World Cup could also be tempting for Chelle. He told Channels TV, here he wants to go to Tunisia. They have offered him $100,000 per month. Not just that, he will make a name, and that name is being a coach of a World Cup side. Let's take that interview of Peter Ida on Channels TV.
When the spirit was so low, kudos must go to the coach. You know, he took this team when the spirit was so low. You know, he has raised the team. I hear he wants to go to Tunisia. And a friend asked me, will he go to Tunisia? I said, yes. He's a businessman. And then they've offered him $100,000 per month. And not just that, he will make a name. And that name would be being a coach of a World Cup side. Is the highest level of coaching anywhere in the world that you coach a team to the World Cup. So I think he would go if the offer we're hearing is good. And it brings us back to where we first started.
Well, he will go. That's Peter Ida. Now, we look at Eric Chelle. If eventually he will accept the offer of $100,000, I'm sure the Tunisian FA saw what he did against the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia in the second group game in Morocco, where we defeated Tunisia 3-2. Now, Eric Chelle made it in such a way that the Tunisians could not get a foothold in that particular game. Now, in the 75th minute of that game, the Tunisians eventually came out to get their own in that particular game, but they were able to get 2 goals. But Super Eagles held their own high in that particular moment. I'm sure the Tunisians have seen this man called Eric Chelle. Now, his first major tournament was at the AFCON in 2023 in Ivory Coast, where he led Mali to the quarterfinals. Now, he was eventually sacked as the Malian coach, and now he took the Super Eagles in the next AFCON to the semi-finals, and now he will be playing in the third place game. So Eric Chelle, whether you like it or not, there is a steady increase, or probably yes, a steady increase in his performance with the national team. And if you eventually accept this offer, which is tempting, just like what Peter Said Ida said, that Eric Chelle will be going there as a World Cup team. Yes, taking a World Cup team to the World Cup. So let's see how it pans out in a couple of days. We'll just have to focus on that game tomorrow against the Pharaohs of Egypt. Now, looking at the Pharaohs of Egypt, we met before the start of the tournament in one of the pre-tournament friendly, where the Super Eagles of Nigeria played against the Pharaohs of Egypt. Well, no familiar faces there, just teams trying to make sure they make their names and trying to get to the tournament, or probably the starting lineup for the teams. And one changes here and then. The light of Mohamed Salah was not in that game, and also the light of Victor Osimhen was also not in that game. But now Egypt will be playing for pride. Yes, the coach, I read an article, the coach said everybody is jealous of Egypt winning 7 titles. Yes, the only team in Africa that has won 7 titles. Talking about the Pharaohs of Egypt. Well, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, every time they play the third place game, they have never lost. Yes, if you see them playing the third place game, they have never lost. So let's see how this edition will be for the Super Eagles. Everyone will be playing for pride. And also, if Victor Osimhen will be available, because yes, it's a doubt for him. And if he's going to be available for that game, he will also be pushing in for the Golden Boot. We'll talk about the Golden Boot. But meanwhile, talking about the officiating, the coach, the referee who officiated the game between Nigeria and Morocco, talking about the Guardian referee, Daniel Larian, has reacted to the backlash he received over the bias officiating during Wednesday's AFCON 2025 semi-final clash between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Atlas Lions of Morocco in Rabat on Wednesday night. After 90 minutes and extra time finished goalless, Morocco went on to win 4-2 on penalty shootout. However, Larian was at the end of heavy criticism, with many fans accusing him of making calls that favored Morocco. Amongst his decision that was questioned was the call he made against Calvin Bassey, which he went ahead to issue him a yellow card. Now, the caution meant Bassey will be ruled out on the final if the Super Eagles had made it through. Now, Super Eagles duo of Akor Adams and Bright Osai Samuel also made their feelings known after the match. Now, with the letter describing the referee's performance as appalling. Now, reacting to the criticism, L'Oreal said, "It's okay, it is football. Nigerians are not the only ones who have expressed disappointment in what they perceived as poor officiating." Now, after the round of 16 clash between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Desert Foxes of Algeria, the Football Federation of the North African country Algeria sent complaint to CAF and FIFA over poor officiating. Well, I think officiating has really, yes, it will not definitely not mar the AFCON. We have the top place to still go, and we also have the finals on Sunday. But meanwhile, let's tell you that with the 2025 CAF African Cup of Nations heading into its final stages, the race for the Golden Boot remains one of the tournament's biggest talking points. Now, Morocco's Brahim Diaz continues to lead the chart, while several stars remain within striking distance. Now, although he failed to score in Morocco's semi-final victory over Nigeria, the Real Madrid winger remains top scorer with 5 goals in 6 matches. Now, Diaz will have a final opportunity to extend his tally when Morocco face Senegal in Sunday's final. Nigerian's talisman Victor Osimhen also remains firmly in contention. His 4 goals have been vital to the Super Eagles' run and keep him just 1 strike behind Diaz. Egypt's captain Mohamed Salah is leveled with Victor Osimhen on 4 goals, underlining his consistency as one of Africa's most reliable finishers. So let's see how it goes. Diaz with 5 goals, Salah with 4 goals, Osimhen with 4 goals, Mahrez with 3 goals, and we also have Diallo also with 3 goals. So these are the top 5 scorers in the present African Cup of Nations going down in Morocco. Now, away from the AFCON, let's head straight to the WAFCON, talking about the Women African Cup of Nations 2026, as the draw went down yesterday in Morocco, where defending champions, the Super Falcons of Nigeria, will face familiar opposition after being drawn alongside Zambia, Egypt, and debutant Malawi in Group C of the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations, scheduled to be staged also in Morocco. Now, the final draw took place on Thursday, that was yesterday, at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Sports Complex in Rabat, with 16 team qualified seeded for port based on the FIFA Women's World Ranking of December 11th, 2025. Host nation Morocco was automatically placed in position A1, while Nigeria's the holders occupied position C1. Now, the Super Falcons meeting with Zambia's renew a recent rivalry, having emphatically beaten the Copper Queens 5-0 on their way to 3-2 victory over host Morocco in the final last July to secure a record extending 10th continental title. Egypt returned to the finals after benefiting from the CAF, benefited rather from CAF decision to expand the tournament from 12 to 16 teams midway through the qualifications, while Malawi will make their debut appearance at the finals. Host Morocco, staging the tournament for the 3rd consecutive edition, headlines Group A, where they will contest a North African side, talking about the North African derby, that is Algeria, alongside fixtures against Senegal and Kenya. Group B pairs of 2022 champions South Africa with Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and Tanzania, while Group D features Ghana, Cameroon, Mali, and debutant Cape Verde. Now, the Black Queens are competing in their 2nd consecutive tournament following their return to a continental stage for their first time since 2018 after an appearance last year. Ghana beat Egypt to secure qualifications to the 2026 edition, claiming a 7-1 aggregate win under the guidance of Kim Lars Jokigren. Now, let's take that interview of Kim Lars Jokigren after the draws yesterday in Morocco.
I think it's extremely important, and I mean, in short term is all about to try to win the AFCON, but maybe in long term is maybe even more important to make the top 4 and to qualify for the World Cup. I mean, with the fullest respect for AFCON, that is an amazing tournament that we love so much, but a World Cup is a World Cup, and it's also going to be a huge thing, especially when it comes back to Brazil. So I really hope that we can make the top 4. Who knows? I mean, we finished the tournament pretty well, even if we lost in penalties in semi-final. We won the 3rd place. But the fact was that I think that like 18 players or something like that made their first AFCON. So of course, it's going to be many players that have one AFCON experience. So I hope that's going to help us. Especially, I felt that the worst game we did was the first game that we played in the AFCON, especially the first half, and that's typical for a team with less experience. That we had maybe some nervous players in that game, but after that, when we were shaking it off, we did better and better in the tournament. So hopefully we can start in a good way.
Okay, that's the coach of the Black Queens of Ghana in the person of Kimla's Jogigren. So let's see how it pans out when the Nations Cup for the ladies kickstarting the month of March. Nigeria 10-10 champions are also the defending champions. They won last edition in Morocco. Now the 4 semi-finalists at the tournament will qualify directly for the 2027 Women's World Cup, with the losing quarter-finalists advancing to playoffs for 2 places at an inter-confederations qualifiers. Now the expanded format followed qualifications exit by Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Mali and Egypt in the second round, with all 4 advancing to the final based on their world ranking. Now the adjustment also means the 2026 edition will feature more matches despite being played over a shorter period. Now the tournament will run from Tuesday, March 17 to Friday, April 3rd, 2026, 4 days shorter than the delayed 2024 edition, which had been pushed back due to scheduling conflicts, including the Paris 2024 Olympics. Now matches will be staged across 4 venues, with 2 stadiums in Rabat and 1 each in Casablanca and Fez. Ahead of the draw, CAF President Patrice Motsepe reiterated plans to increase prize monies for the women's tournament and improve players' salary across the continent. Nigeria earned $1 million for winning the title last July, while the champions of the men's 2025 African Cup of Nations will receive $10 million. Group A, we have Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, Kenya, and Group B, South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Tanzania. In Group C, Nigeria, Zambia, Egypt, Malawi. Group D, Ghana, Cameroon, Mali, and Cape Verde. Now, Super Falcons striker Asisat Oshoala has questioned the Confederation of African Football CAF continued concentration of major tournaments and awards in Morocco, calling for broader inclusion of other African nations in hosting continental competitions. Oshoala, who plays for Saudi Women's Pro League club Al Hilal and the Nigerian national team, made the remark on X on Thursday. The big question here is, when will this whole at CAF online compensations to Morocco end? Awards, tournaments, and all. It's getting boring now. We need other countries to step up. Everything concerning African football happens in Morocco. It feels like that is the new headquarters of CAF, she said. The 6-time African Women's Football of the Year argued that Nigeria could successfully host the African Cup of Nations through regional collaborations, insisting that proximity to neighboring countries makes co-hosting realistic if there is sufficient commitment. Her comment comes amid heightening tension on Morocco's growing influence in Africa football following the country's qualification for the finals of the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Host Morocco booked their place in the final on Wednesday night after defeating Nigeria 4-2 on penalties, following a goalless draw in the 10th semi-final clash at the Stade Prince Moulay Abdallah in Rabat. The result marked Morocco's first appearance in the AFCON finals in 24 years, having last reached the showpiece match at the 2002 edition of the Continental Tournaments. The 35th edition of the CAF African Cup of Nations is currently taking place in Morocco, with CAF citing the country's modern infrastructure, organizational capacity, and football culture as key reasons for the selection. Morocco's hosting of the competition also forms part of the broader sporting vision, following several recent CAF events and ahead of its co-hosting of the 2030 FIFA World Cup. While CAF has consistently praised Morocco's readiness to stage major tournaments, Oshoala's comments have reignited debate over regional balance and the need for more African countries, including Nigeria, its neighbors, to be given opportunities to host Africa's biggest event, which is either the Cup of Nations or the awards. Well, time will not permit us to talk about tennis, talking about the first Grand Slam of the year, or the Australian Open that will go down in Melbourne. Yes, time will not permit me, but a difficult draw for Emma Raducanu. This is where we blow the final whistle on the show this morning, Rapid Sports Highlight. But for Oshoala, I don't know what to say. Is Nigeria ready to host any major tournament? Yes, is Nigeria truly ready? You look at infrastructure, you look at security, and others. Well, let's just leave it that way. On top of the hour of 9, Mata and Victor Ake as the breakfast show continues. I am Ijoma Victor. Do have yourself a lovely weekend ahead. Good morning.